As you all know, I am a human, and as we humans do, we like to go on social media and find things of entertainment to look at. And as social media is wont to do, it shows you the things that are pretty relevant to the stuff you're interested in. As you might imagine, I'm fairly interested in Star Citizen, but I'm also interested in gaming in general, so I am subscribed to a lot of gaming news outlets and Reddit threads. And I've been a long time user of our gaming, our games, our PC gaming, our MMOs, our space sims, our whatever it is. So I'm very, very familiar with how usually things regarding Star Citizen go down when they reach these outlets. But I saw a thread, and we literally called this out earlier this week that there were going to be threads about the funding as they cross a new milestone. And so I was like, hey, you know what? I was actually not planning on doing this, but like an hour ago, maybe I was on Reddit and I saw there was a thread where people were talking about the new crowdfunding milestone and the CitizenCon announcement. And I was like, wonder what that's going to look like. So I figured maybe we could jump in for a little bit and see what the conversation looks like outside the bubble. One of the best businesses ever invented. It's a never-ending development with enough whales to fund it. Amazing machine, money machine. They're not wrong. It's a good money machine. They have really figured out their business model. Although I don't think it's working for them. Like, I don't think it's sustainable like this. I think they need to release Squadron. One forgets this game was originally funded in 2012. That doesn't make any sense now. But I'll skip that. Like, the original thing that they wanted to make was maybe funded. I don't even think it was funded in 2012, to be honest. I don't think they were going to be able to make what he wanted with Star Citizen from 7 million. Just look at the stretch goals for this. Where the heck are they? There we go. Campaign start, right? Star Citizen will feature an additional flagship. Okay. I think their original goal was like... What was their original goal? There's no way it was just a 2.5 million. Like, that wouldn't have lasted development for more than a couple years. Maybe it was, and then maybe these were all additional. But like, if you look at the early things that they were talking about, I mean, they already wanted to do a was it 6 million? So this was kind of, and they said that Star Citizen will launch with 100 star systems. See, there's a problem too, is when they originally announced this, they announced it as one game, but like, it was 2 games. They were like, oh yeah, we're going to make Star Citizen, and it's going to have this campaign called Squadron 42 within it. And that's going to be your single player where you do all your military stuff, and then you can branch out for them to play the MMO. So it's like, oh, okay, and this is one game? No. They split it out into 2 games, and being able to make 2 games with 6 million is even worse than trying to make it with one game with 6 million. That being said, we're well past 6 million. All right, what else is being said? I want to see a good, my daily routine is quite simple. I wake up, eat breakfast, go to work, go home, donate thousands of dollars to Star Citizen, go to bed, repeat. They unfortunately do miss the idea that a lot of you guys, a lot of us don't put thousands of dollars into this game. And it's just not necessarily recently. You can kind of see from their funding that recently they have been making a lot of money, but they haven't been doing a lot of new players as much. But you can kind of draw the comparison. Like, look at the numbers of 2017, 2018, 2019 here. Just kind of like chilling, rising a little bit. And then 2020 jumps in terms of players. And then you look at the funding and you're like, okay, 2017, 2018, 2019 kind of jumping. And then in 2020, it jumps. And it's like, okay, it might have something to do with the amount of people getting involved, maybe. Because again, you keep seeing like these really high numbers of population, way higher than the previous years where the funding wasn't as high. And then you also kind of see these same spikes. Now, the last year or so was a little bit different, I think, because the game was not in a great state last year. So a lot less people are joining. And then this year had a rough start with 4.0. So genuinely, I think the game being stable and inviting more people who will actually just want to try the game into the game leads to them having more money. It's not necessarily always whales. Sometimes it's whales. Sometimes it's definitely whales. The greatest grift in the industry continues unimpeded. How is this the greatest grift when the day before, what was it called? It was the day before, right? there are like actual scams that get outed. There was a recent one. There was a recent game trying to be like the GTA 6 clone. Paradise. The fake GTA 6 clone. And people are like outing it as a scam. Yet this game where they're still trying to develop something is the biggest grift. Like, hey, now, let's be real. They're doing not a great job at some parts of this, okay? It's definitely going slow. Management hasn't made the best decisions at all times. And we have not gotten some of the stuff that we've been expecting in the time that they've said. If there's anybody who's made a bigger deal out of that, I think it's the Star Citizen community. But the idea that it's a grift is, I don't know. I guess it depends on what the name grift, what grift means. But this person said, I watched Lyric recently play the most up-to-date build of the game, and it took him an hour to get to his ship because all players were clipping through the metro train or the elevator. After 10 years in development, even the most basic core functions like walking on the ground still do not work properly or consistently. That is, the elevators and trains suck. But that's not because of, again, 10 years is not how long they've been working on the elevators and train system. We all know that they just brought in server meshing, which makes them run worse. They weren't running great beforehand, but it's not, none of it is, it's not, what's it called? Tangential? Linear. It's not a linear relationship of development. What continues to amaze me is that after 800 million and more than a decade of development, this game still doesn't even have a release date. If it wasn't for the fact that people continue to give money to this project, Cloud Imperium's games would have gone bankrupt years ago. They're not wrong. If people didn't give money to, if you don't give money to a company, it won't live. It won't survive. And I don't think that's true. I don't think that's not true for anybody, but maybe other companies have found other ways to do it. But yeah, I mean, if people didn't give money to this, the project wouldn't work. That's how, I want to say that's how crowdfunded business would work. But like, if the people didn't give money to Ubisoft, I guess they have shareholders. So that's kind of making a better point. This company actually depends on making sure that the people who want to play the game are giving money, rather than the people who want to see a return. I'm not saying that's perfect or that like that's a good thing, but I feel like they are making a better point with that statement than like a situation like with Ubisoft, where they for years have followed how do we get the most money for our shareholders rather than making the game that these people like, where is the disconnect here between a developer who is beholden to the people that they're trying to make the game for and folks who are angry that publishers don't make games for gamers? What are we missing? Is it just because there's so much money involved? If this was 80 million instead of 800 million, would people be like, oh yeah? Because I get that they deserve a whole bunch of shit for going way past their deadlines, for promising things that they didn't give, for false advertisement. Like they deserve criticism for those things. What I don't understand is how they're getting criticism for continuing to go and not cutting with the money they've made and run, or selling the engine to some big company and making a huge profit. Like they're still trying to make the game instead of just cashing out. And these takes, I find them weird because I don't know, man. If there were any game in any industry, in any genre that was doing something like this, and they were kind of sucking at making the game, but they were still trying to make it, I'd be like, hey man, I hope they can at least get healthy and finish the game. But yeah, it doesn't have a release date. Squadron 42 has a release date, but we all know that's like, I don't think even having a release date matters for this project. You can say they don't have a release date. Nobody's going to care if they put a release date on this game. So I don't know what the significance of that is, but Squadron 42 at least is supposed to release sometime soon. CIG is on the edge of bankruptcy any given year if they don't get money. I don't know if they're on the edge of bankruptcy. I don't think their financials show that. I think they have... Actually, I think... Hold on. So they release their financials every year for those who like think they're just sitting on a huge deposit of money and they're not doing anything. And they report, I think, somewhere around like maybe a few million in profit. Yeah, you can see where most of their money is going to salaries. Other dev costs is probably the yachts, you know. Headcount. So in 2022, they were 860. See, this is what we're waiting for 23. That's a big tell. All right, here we go. Overall, net pledges income cost 1.3, what is this, million? 1.3 thousand millions, so no, that wouldn't make sense. This must be hundreds of thousands? In just thousands, okay. So yeah, that's 1.3 million, 6.2 million. So yeah, their cumulative position before investments is 6.2 million, which is not going to last them very long. How much do they spend per year? So they spend 129 million per year. So yeah, they need to keep making money for sure. But I guess that goes to show that they're not just sitting on a massive pile of cash. We're getting distracted. Either way, they released their financials. We'll go over this on Monday when we have like a longer sit down for this. But I think that like they're going to make money when they make the game better. So I think that's what they want to do. I'm willing to bet a whole generation of people have lived before the game has a release date. Maybe a developer gets too old and retires even. Don't think it's ever going to release. It's the general conversation is going on here. Elite Dangerous was announced around the same time it was developed, released, had DLCs, and is now cheap as hell. And a base game does not receive new content anymore. We had a whole game's life cycle, and Star Citizen hasn't made it into beta in the same time frame. Just a laughably bad money scam at this point. I think that says something bad about both CIG and Frontier. That Frontier's game, they've struggled to figure out. I mean, they've gotten into a better place now, better than they were a couple years ago. But the fact that they couldn't figure out how to make their game last, and eventually had to start doing the same thing that Star Citizen had to do in order to last is, whoever continues to fund this mess is fully complicit because they do that knowingly. Meanwhile, we're robbing our whole government. I mean, I was actually hoping for some more nuanced conversation. Wish an open source project could get this kind of support and funding. We could get something to benefit everyone out of it rather than this. Where are the people who are funding this getting this kind of cash? Bro, it's $45 to buy in. He said, I have a friend who plays regularly with a large group of friends. From what he tells me, everyone pools money together to buy those huge ships, and they play the game essentially like Space Arma. What? Dude, what? Asked a lot of the same questions as you. They get together every few days and do operations. Dude, you go to the freaking Star Citizen subreddit and everyone's like, orgs, we don't play in groups. Where's a single player game? And then you come outside of the subreddit and everyone's like, they're all banding together and buying ships to go on operations. Bro, nobody wants to play together in this game. What are you talking about? I wish it was like that. No, okay. It is kind of like that. There are, I mean, even in GII, we do band together and go on ships. But I think you can't say that it's just, this is what people do. They just get in, like, people are just playing this game on like $100 bought in. I noticed a lot of German players who live and breathe the sim stuff who are all in on it. Side project like model trains where you set up for $1,000+ Don't think it's necessarily the same people through all the years. Some buy into it for a few years, play the game, and then stop. All of these things are true, but that's the problem with these conversations. No CitizenCon could be this last few years of runway for them. Seems strange they wouldn't have that. That was Robert's favorite public ego. Oh boy. Love that they already blow away money for their own convention when the game ain't even in beta. Yeah, but their funding stats shows that it pays off for them. CitizenCon always drives up sales, plus the tickets are pretty expensive. They are, and they do drive up sales. It's a marketing event. Which huge ships, the ones that cost a year's worth of WoW subscriptions? I mean, dude, some of these ships are ridiculous. I'm not gonna shy away from that. The A2, like I get why they cost the A2 so much. It's to counteract a not great design of the thing itself, but man, I think the A2 was like 700 something bucks, which is insane, absolutely nuts. And but CIG pushes it, and so like there are definitely problems like that. If nothing else, this game is an interesting experiment in letting scope creep continue to grow unchecked. I have no stake in Star Citizen, but I think there are better discussions to be had than a scam bad. Hey, there we go. That's what we're looking for. They have proven themselves to be unreliable, mismanaged, and inefficient with their funding, but the devs are clearly passionate about what they're making, and they really do seem to be shooting for the moon on this project. If they are successful in building out their server meshing tech, I'd love to see it licensed out to other games and experiences, and if they're unsuccessful in pushing out finished product, It'll at least make for a great documentary about the rise and fall of crowdfunding behemoth. That's a fair take. That is definitely a fair take, especially from someone who has no stake in Star Citizen. I would not like to see server meshing licensed out, and I'm betting that CIG keeps it in their engine and controls the engine, but honestly, yeah. Anybody who follows this game can tell that the devs are really trying to make something cool. It's just a matter of whether the management can keep the train on the tracks. Server meshing stuff has been one of those vaporware things that's perpetually just around the corner since the project's inception. I think it's strange credulity to believe that a team this grossly mismanaged could crack something like that. I mean, I'm not even gonna bother. Somebody already said it's released. Like, it has its problems, but it's strange credulity to believe that this team could crack something like that. But we're about to jump into server meshed Star Citizen in like 10 minutes. So what is the conversation? Like, what? You got to get updated information at least. I appreciate this comment. I think that this guy's got a proper healthy dose of skepticism. He sees that clearly things have gone wrong, but like they're trying to do something. 800 million, there's still like no in-person event this year, but trust us, big things are coming. We want this. At this point, Star Citizen is less of a game, more of a sci-fi themed money laundering simulator. Money laundering simulator. Can you launder money if people are using credit cards? I didn't watch enough of Ozarks to really learn all about it. Meanwhile, actual release games out here struggling to fund patches, and these guys just keep selling JPEGs of ships like it's an NFT convention. They're not NFTs. They're not investments. Ain't nobody investing in this stuff, dude. It's literally, I mean, okay, some people are doing that, but that's not what we're actually doing. This thread title reminds me of the guy in PlanetSide 2. I briefly was telling about 5,000 he spent in Star Citizen back in 2013. Always curious about people who don't think it's a scam and who think it'll ever actually be released. Feel like they should never be allowed near a casino. Hey, in my defense, I don't gamble. No matter how, it's like, I don't gamble with money in the sense that I want to get it back. Nobody's trying to get their money back here. We're just trying to have some fun. No matter how much they lose, they'll keep putting the money in thinking they'll win. Folks, it's not, dude, these people are so broken in the mind that they don't realize people just want to have fun. Oh my God. It doesn't have to be about winning or making money. I don't think I'm gonna even post this on YouTube because it just looks like I'm like raging about comments. I didn't think they would be like this. I thought people would be making fun of the game. But like, how do you not even understand why somebody would be interested in it? I liked this thread. I liked this comment. I wish that this had gotten a little bit more attention and people had discussed this. It got literally one reply, and it was saying that server meshing isn't real. So that didn't really get us anywhere. And I feel like maybe controversial. We'll do it because that's where people might be saying something. Oh no! By the time this release, people online question why game publishers continue their scummy tactics. It'll never be released. They say some things are too big to fall. I'm always so curious about people. I would love, honestly, if anybody's watching this, if you like hate watching this or something, if you are of this mindset, if you're curious about why people like this game, or you just want to come on as a critic, we have a podcast. And if you do make content, we would love for you to invite your own community to come and watch the podcast so we can talk to a wider group of people that aren't just Star Citizen fans, because I used to go around the subreddits like this on these sorts of things, and I would tell people, I'm like, hey, I'd gladly have you on stream. I'll bring you on the podcast and we can talk about it. And I think a couple times people were like, yeah, that sounds interesting. And then they just ghosted me. It's like, it's not a hard conversation to have. It's literally just people wanting to play something that nobody else is doing. And CIG continues for this entire time to be the only one who's tried to do it. Now, I am somebody who has advertised Cyberpunk. I've advertised Halo Infinite, which is not the kind of game this is, but I've advertised Starfield. I've talked about Outer Worlds. We've talked about Jump Ship. We've played Elite Dangerous and talked about that. We're not like Star Citizen players it's not like we don't know about other games. People just are looking for a specific experience, and this is the only game providing it. There you go. That's it. It's that simple. And the people who are making it have been having problems that the folks who are supporting it have had to struggle through as we wait for the game to come up, and we're hoping it comes up soon. It's that simple. You guys can go through this thread if you want. but I think we've exhausted it quite a bit. There you go.